Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If we haven't met, my name is Danny, and it's great to have you here. And we are going to be talking about launching the homeschool year in today's video. And please don't mind, I'm sitting on our hammock swing, and I am swinging on the hammock swing because I have a little guy who I think he's getting about 4 molars right now, and he is pretty miserable. So he just kind of wants to be snuggled. So that's fine. We're going to sit here and swing and snuggle, and it's a great time for me to chat with you about how we launch our homeschool year. So I have young kids. If you're new here, you may not know that, but I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and then this little guy who is a 1-year-old. And we are homeschooling our 7-year-old and our 5-year-old. So they are in 2nd grade and kindergarten. And I follow kind of a 3-phased approach to launching the homeschool year, or I call it like the 3-week launch plan. So prior to the start of these 3 weeks, I have ordered my curriculum. I've chosen my curriculum and I've ordered my curriculum. Usually I end up doing that about 6 months before the school year starts because I try to snag, we use the Good and the Beautiful curriculum for many of our curriculums, and I try to snag them when they're on their I don't know if it's called like a back to school sale or an early bird sale back in like March or so. So if we were starting in August, then that would be how it works for us. We actually start in February because we live in New Zealand, but that doesn't matter so much. So in advance, we have our curriculum in hand ready to use. But before we actually start like the first day of school, I like to try to get myself set up so that we can enter the school year with just kind of some clear chores, clear habits, clear goals already defined so that it goes as smoothly as possible is the goal. So the beginning of the 3-week phase is actually 2 full weeks before our quote first day of school. So let's just say that our first day of school is going to be on a Monday, the previous Monday, and then 1 Monday before that. So 2 full weeks before that is when I kind of start my prep phase. So the first week is me prep. So this is where I sit down, I pull out all of the different curriculum workbooks that I have for each child, each grade level. And basically, I look at my calendar and I pull my planner out and I basically do kind of a bird's eye view of the school year. So I look to make sure, number one, that I'm meeting any legal requirements for how many like days of school that we need to have. But I'm also looking at our calendar and seeing like, okay, what weeks are we going to take off for, Christmas? Or what weeks are we going to take off when somebody comes, if we have family from overseas that's coming to visit, we're probably not going to do a whole bunch of school on those weeks. So I want to try to plan that in as kind of school break time. So kind of plan our school breaks around that. I personally utilize, for the most part, the New Zealand school year. So we do 4 terms of about 10 weeks. Sometimes, like we've had a baby in the middle of the school year before, so sometimes I end up doing like the first term is more like 12 weeks, and then we have a baby and I take 2 weeks off, and then we get kind of back into things, and the next term is like 9 weeks or so. And so I fudge it around a little bit. I don't worry too much about following a super strict New Zealand calendar schedule, but I try to make sure that I'm hitting and planning for about 40 weeks of instruction time, 38 to 40 weeks of instruction time in the school year. So I like to look at the number of lessons that I have in each workbook and divide that by the number of weeks that I have that we will be doing school. So if I'm planning to do 40 weeks of instruction and our language arts book has 120 lessons in it, then I know that I need to be like at minimum hitting 3 lessons per week for that particular workbook. If our science curriculum that we're doing has more like, 50 or 60 lessons, let's say it has 60 lessons, and I know that I'm going to be doing 40 weeks of school, then I know that I need to, oh, thank you, buddy. We have a sweet brother who has brought a little snack for the baby. Then I know that I need to do, for sure, like about 1 to 2 lessons per week. Some weeks I can get by with 1, but then the next week I need to make sure that I hit 2 science lessons. So I just like to get kind of an overview. I write those in my planner so that I have them as a quick reference. And then I also like to actually write them in the front cover of the workbook so that also is a quick reference. And then I look at kind of the actual materials that I have on hand. I like to color code each grade level. So my kindergartner, we start with red. I color code like the side pages of that, because all of our books, we live in a small space, so all of our books end up on one shelf. And then it's easy to grab each child's stuff off of the shelf when I need it, or when they need it. I can say, go grab your math book, or go grab your language arts book. Hey, Laz, that's good. We don't need any more, okay? Thank you. And then I like to check and make sure, have we got pencil sharpener, erasers? Are we good on all of the, colored pencils, markers, highlighters? Usually we need to have some cotton balls on hand, some glue, some of that kind of stuff. So I try to make sure that I've just got all of that, or I have a plan for when I'm going to pick that up. Any, notebooks or writing practice, like, what do they call them? Composition books that we need. And then the last thing I like to do during this prep week is I like to figure out, okay, how do I want the flow of our days to go, and overall the flow of our week to go? And can I brainstorm all of the different tasks that need to happen and kind of figure out what time is ideal for those tasks to happen? And then can I figure out which children are either capable already, like they already know how to do the tasks that need to happen, or they would be capable of learning it at that particular stage in their development. So, for example, before breakfast, I like to have the kids make their beds, and somebody needs to unload the dishwasher, and we need to get the table set for breakfast, and you unload the dishwasher. Yes, Laz is letting you know that he unloads the dishwasher. That's his morning chore. So we just kind of figure we gotta feed the chickens at some point. That doesn't have to happen at a particular time, but it's kind of handy to have that happen before or after breakfast. So basically, just kind of figuring out what are the task lists, and then who can do what. And I like to give everybody a task or two to do before breakfast, a task or two to do after breakfast, a task or two to do before lunch, a task or two to do after lunch, and then a task or two to do before dinner. And then we have kind of our evening cleanup routine where everybody also has tasks. So each of those kind of transitions, which we usually build around our meal times, each of those transition times are a great time, because I know I'm going to be doing chores. I'm going to be making breakfast or helping with the clean up the kitchen, wipe downs, whatever might be the case. So we're all going to be doing something. Why not just do it together? And then I figure out which children need to learn something. So the first week is all about the prep. Week number 2, which is actually the week before. Thank you, buddy. And then I think we're good. We don't need any more snacks right now, okay? And then week 2, which is actually the week before we start the launch of the academic year, is when when I teach the kids what they need to do. So I try to kind of get us onto the time schedule of what our school week will look like. So if I'm planning to try to have breakfast ready by, 8 o'clock in the morning, then I make sure that we've got the kids up and moving about, 7:30. Sometimes they're awake before that, but 7:30 is when we need to kind of get started on those morning tasks. And so the before breakfast tasks. So I like to really clarify with my kids what tasks they need to do, what equipment they may need in order to be able to do them, and what specifically they need to know in order to be able to say, hey, I've done the task. So what my expectations are for when the task is completed. So I spend a week intentionally teaching my kids what they need to do. And so on Monday, I usually take each child one at a time, and we go through the task that they're going to be learning how to do. And I do it for them and have them assist me or kind of watch and assist me, and I talk them through the whole process. This is where we find the dishwashing detergent. This is where we put, when plastic things come out of the dishwasher, then we need to put them up here so that they can air dry and they don't go straight away into their drawer, or whatever the case might be. And then the second day, on Tuesday, I try to give them a little bit more. We kind of do it together, like 50-50. I try to give them a little bit more responsibility, but I'm still very much there doing it with them. On the third day, on Wednesday, they're the one primarily doing the task and I'm assisting them. So I try to say like, okay, what would you like me to do first? Like, what do you think needs to be done first? And what can I do and what can you do? And then on the fourth day, they're primarily doing the task and I'm kind of sitting back and observing and watching, reminding them if they need reminders. And then the fifth day, I like to let them do the task on their own, and then I come back and check it when they're done. And so in that way, I'm kind of training them to be able to do these tasks that help our household run smoothly. Oh, hi. Are you coming alive again? You want to get down? Okay. I'm trying to kind of help them independently be able to do these tasks without me having to like hover and micromanage, because that's going to be really helpful and valuable for our family to have like a smooth flow in the mornings and at lunchtime and at dinner time. But so that is what our second week looks like. And then the third week is when we actually have our first day of school. Another thing I like to do sometime in the second week is I like to interview each child. I have a little like 1-page sheet that I fill out on each kid. My kids are still at the age where they're excited to find out how much they weigh and how tall they are and stuff like that. So we do kind of their beginning of the school year stats with, how tall are you and how much do you weigh and what's your favorite color and what's your favorite snack and what's your favorite dinner and what's your favorite dessert and what was a fun memory from this summer. And I basically just interview them and then write down their answers, or my 7-year-old is getting to where she can write down some of her own answers now. And I use that as, I usually ask them, what's one of your favorite things to do with mama? What's one of your favorite things to do with your dad? What's one of your favorite things to do with each of your siblings? Because I reference that as I try to plan intentional connection with my kids, or as my husband's trying to plan intentional connection with our kids. How can we do that in a way that like really speaks to our child? Or if they've had a hard week, like, sorry, we're getting some noise now. He's clearly feeling a little bit better after that snuggle session. What can I plan a dinner that's going to be, kind of special for them? That's going to be something that they know, oh, mama planned this because she knows that I like this particular food or whatever. So I kind of do a little bit of like detective work, record keeping work there, just so that I have that to quick reference throughout the school year. And then during the third week is when we actually start our academic year. So on Monday we start, but we've already done that previous week of sort of the flow of the day. Of course, things are slow. Of course, things are a little bit, everybody's a little bit excited and a little bit distracted and more likely to, not be paying as close of attention. But I can remind them, like, remember, this is what you're supposed to do. And remember, I'm going to come check when you're done. Can you make sure that it's done to the quality that it needs to be done to? And that is kind of the flow of our first academic week. So then we can focus on the academic side of things without having to spend as much energy on kind of the household running and household tasks. And then I really like to, on Friday, at the end of our first week of school, we usually do kind of a nicer Friday dinner. I try to not plan a lot of schoolwork to do on Friday, and instead that is our house cleaning day before we go into Saturday, which our family takes. It's okay, bud. Which our family takes as kind of a day of rest. Could you help him with that, Mara, please? Thank you. And I like to do kind of a nice dinner with a dessert on Saturday night. And then we get to really celebrate the start of the school year, the start of the first week of the school year, the successful completion of the first week. We get to fill my husband in on, the specifics of the week and how it went and what the highs were and what the lows were. And it's just kind of a sweet time as a family to sort of be together and have that family connection around the dinner table at the start of the school year on that kind of the end of that first week. So that is our kind of 3-week approach to launching the school year with young kids. Obviously, if our kids were older, then it might not be quite so, we might not need to be quite so detailed, but at the age where they are now, it is really, really helpful to have sort of that gradual soft start to the school year in order to get things flowing smoothly and all of us to kind of get in our groove. So I hope that is helpful for you. Drop me a comment below if you have a different structure or if you do something similar. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear what works for you. And I hope that you have a wonderful, for those of you who are in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope that the start of your school year is just a sweet one and that you get off on what feels like a really strong note or the right foot as you're launching into the 2025 and 2026 school year. So thanks for being here, and I will catch you next week.